And welcome back, fight fans. You are listening to another episode of Cage Side Submissions. I'm your host, as always, Steve. Doing a special episode tonight, obviously, and being joined by my friend Carrie Steller over there. What's up, Carrie? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're being joined tonight by the founder of the Terp House, Franklin Benjamin. We're going to be discussing, all kinds of things. The benefits that CBD oil would have to particularly MMA athletes. Kind of hope to open some eyes and knock down some of the discrediting stigmas surrounding CBD oil usage, and especially in athletes, because a lot of times you look around and people, especially athletes, they don't want to say that maybe they do use this because of fear of USADA and stuff like that. Worried about it being illegal here, or how they would be perceived if this is something they got behind. But I guess we'll kick things off, man. How did you get into this, my friend? This is not a business that you just I was a lawyer yesterday. I'll just open my own dispensary today. Let's see how that works.
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur, or I don't like to use that term entrepreneur because I'm not a business person. I'm just a hustler that I'm pretty well educated. But I'm an ex Muay Thai fighter, and I've fought all over the world. And I had a gym in Seattle, Washington, and Monroe, Washington. And I kept passing out during training classes, and we could never figure out why. I just didn't have any energy. I was lightheaded. My equilibrium wasn't around. And after I started passing out a few times, I went to the doctor, and they said I had some fluid in my brain. They didn't really act like they knew what the hell they were talking about. So I had this happen before with brain trauma. So I went to Cedars-Sinai in L.A. and got diagnosed with an active brain aneurysm. After a little bit of research, they found out there was not just one aneurysm, but there were three. Now, a lot of misconceptions with aneurysms is people think an aneurysm is something that busts inside of your brain. An aneurysm, anybody can have an aneurysm. You can be born with it. It's a deformity inside the vein. What kills people is when that aneurysm bursts. So my aneurysm didn't burst, it just cut. So I had a little bit of a leakage. So it started making me sick and things of that nature. So I got prescribed cannabis for my seizures and for my my migraine. And that's how I got into that's basically how I got into it. Once I got into it, I started doing research and figured out that there was not a lot of research being done. And it's kind of like a black market kind of deal, but now it's starting to get more out into the public eye.
Now, just for a little background, Carrie is a particular advocate to set calls here, and as soon as I let her know that we were going to have you on, she was she's jumping up like a kid in a candy store. This is like her wheelhouse, so to speak. So I'm sure she's sitting over there just chomping at the bit to say something. So let me throw Carrie in here and let the words fly.
Well, I am. I'm like, really, this beyond excites me for so many different reasons. I'm a recovered addict, and I, ran the gamut with drinking, and I was an equal opportunist with drugs, and, I pretty much was that person, I'll try anything once, and, that landed me in rehab 4 times, and, it was never a good thing, but I smoked cigarettes and all that. And when I was kickboxing when I was a kid, and, I was smoking cigarettes, and I was always getting sick, and it was just, a big, big problem. But I always noticed that the only problem that I didn't have was marijuana. That was never a problem for me. So after I had gotten sober and, kicked everything else, I made a conscious decision that was something I was still going to do, and because I didn't have a problem with it. And I started kickboxing again, and I would show up to class, and I would be just gotten out of my car smoking, and they're like, how are you going to get through this? And I would be, tackling 3 5-minute rounds, and like, let's do some more. And they're like, you're the only person that could come in here and meet everybody. As far as cardio, my cardio was on point. I was not breathing heavy. I mean, I could probably run a marathon around somebody that could smoke cigarettes. And add on top of that, it's got a major healing property to it. You know, with your muscles, injuries. It is a natural painkiller. I've had serious injuries that's helped me immensely. So I mean, there's just so many things that it can benefit. You know, adding to your, you know, what happened to you. I've heard and read so many different stories and studies on, you know, cannabis and CBDs helping seizures and cancer patients and so many different things. And there's so many different kinds, and there isn't enough research done on it, at least not positive research.
Well, the reason that there's not enough research is because Big Pharma, you can't patent a natural product. So you can't take a hemp plant and patent it. So you have to synthesize or synthetically make it. So what they're trying to do is outlaw it, put this Schedule I product out there, this label on it. But to go back to what you're talking about, that's the stigma that's going on with this product is people smell that people are that are smoking weed or marijuana. That's the weed that they want to call it. I like to call it cannabis, but they go around with the smell. Because I had the same thing in my gym. My BJJ teachers would come in and they would be reeking of marijuana, and I'm like, how in the hell are you guys out here rolling and doing this? And it relaxes them. It gets them into a state of mind that they can roll and be fluid. And I never understood it until I started doing it. I'm not a what they call a cannabis advocate or a connoisseur. Okay. Like I'm not very tuned into the cannabis, like different strains and things. What I do know about is the effects that it does have. This is my whole concept. This is what cannabis is to me. You've got to have the whole plant. What people are doing right now are taking things away from it and selling it as a good product. They're taking the THC and giving you pure THC. Or they're taking the CBD and giving you pure CBD. The way that cannabis works in my mind is the key ingredient is your terpenes. That's why I named my company the Terp House. We focus and specialize in the usage and utilization of terpenes. Terpenes are what open up the receptors in your brain to be able to receive the THC and the CBD properly. So I kind of break down cannabis as a doctor's office. Your terpenes are the doctor that diagnoses your problem. It opens up the receptors that it needs to, and what I mean by that is each strain affects people differently because those strains have different terpene profiles. THC is THC and CBD is CBD. You have different effects from different strains of marijuana because of the effects of the terpenes. So your terpenes are your diagnosis. Your THC is your sedative and your anesthesia that puts you under, and then your CBD is the doctors that go in there and fix your problem. I honestly believe that CBD reacts with the brain and the body to help it regenerate and heal itself. I don't think there's any medicinal properties of CBD other than the natural properties that help the body regenerate itself.
Now,
I could definitely
one of the things Now, one of the big things that we were going to discuss today is, how are you going? How are you going about, working with MMA fighters with this? This is, kind of a big thing. Like I said, some people are probably going to be apprehensive to want to try using that with, the stringent testing going around and whatnot. And as we were already talking about the stigmas that surround this product.
Well, I mean, yeah, I contacted a few people that I've looked up to in the MMA industry and asked them to try my product, and they've always denied because they're scared of the testing. And I try to explain to them that USADA and WADA, they test for certain different cannabinoids. Cannabinoid is the structures inside of the cannabis. CBD is a different cannabinoid, and they don't really test for CBD very much. Trace elements of it. What they test for is the THC cannabinoid. They want to make sure that you don't have any THC inside your system. And they're actually it's not a 0%. It's not a 0% tolerance. They don't have a zero tolerance. You can actually have a specified PEL, which is prescribed.
You're actually allowed to smoke
exposure
it
limitation.
All the time. You're really allowed to smoke all the time except for in competition. In competition is the only time it's really banned, and that's I think a couple X amount of hours before and after. So it's a level
Yeah.
thing. I think, I mean, I remember when I was in rehab, they tested my levels constantly, and they went down in that 28-day period. Like they say, okay, it comes out of your body in 28 days. Well, it does, but it levels out. You lose a certain amount each day. So that's there's something to be said for that.
The thing with my CBD is I have athletes, and I'm not naming names due to the fact that I do not want USADA and WADA to be going in digging deeper. But I have athletes inside of Bellator and inside of the UFC right now that are taking my product and have been taking my product and have competed, been tested numerous times by both agencies, and have not been flagged.
That's awesome.
I can say that for 100% fact. I guarantee any of my patients, and I won't call them consumers, I'm going to call them patients because I am a caregiver. I guarantee all of my patients that consume my product to pass any drug test. That means any drug test, unless it's specified you cannot use CBD, then you should be able to pass any kind of drug test because nobody tests for that specific cannabinoid.
I think that's probably the huge thing, but like I said, the fact that you're also sitting here saying that you're not naming names, knowing that we still have this aura of uncertainty, moving forward with this. How are you? What are you trying to do to kind of combat that? Because that's kind of a rough hill to climb. You know what I mean?
It's a huge mountain, but I've got my climbing gear on, and what I'm doing for it is I'm working hand in hand with doctors to try to do clinical studies for fighters, even ex-fighters, retired fighters that are suffering from what I would consider CTE symptoms. Giving them my CBD oil free of charge for them to consume and go to the doctor and have tests done to see the benefit of what's going on, because Big Pharma's not going to let you do it. And the people that I'm trying to reach to see if it works. You know what I mean? So
are we losing him again?
Nope. I think he was just
Franklin, we're losing your connection here, Franklin.
I'm trying. Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, we got you back.
Did you guys hear
what
that
I was trying to say is, Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, did you guys hear? I read it a while ago that they're thinking about removing marijuana from the banned substance list completely.
Yes.
Which they should.
It's all a process. It's a process. Go ahead, Franklin.
Sorry. I think we got a delay. It's NSAC and CSAC that are really talking about removing marijuana. That's California Athletic State Commission and the Nevada Athletic State Commission. It's not across the board kind of thing yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not across the board thing yet because not all 50 states are on board with the recreational or medical use of marijuana yet. Once it gets nationally recognized as it's a medical product, then the Athletic Commission should be able to recognize it as a medical product and go off that way. That's what I'm gunning for. So I've been blowing up Jeffrey Davidson from the UFC. I've been back and forth with him to do clinical studies on UFC fighters. What I really want to do is partner with an organization, whether it be Bellator, LFA, FCL, Glory. I'd love to partner with Glory to do clinical studies and to be a partnered product with these companies to show. I really need a backing of a public figure to show that the stigma is no longer there. The stigma is going to be there until we remove it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You're going to need. You would need somebody like a Donald Cerrone or somebody like that to kind of be the quote unquote face to kind of spearhead something like that. Yeah, but you probably would need someone bigger, but like Donald would be in that image, somebody who who would say what had to be said and not worried about who anyone getting butthurt or coming back after him about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll have that thick skin when they're like, oh, you're a doper, and then Donald will just laugh and say what he has to say. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by somebody like Donald. It probably would have to be someone bigger than Donald, but I would have to say he's pretty well known. So I don't know.
Well, as far as athletes getting behind and being spokespersons and spokespeople, I mean, I have 2 or 3 fighters right now. Well, 4 or 5. Well, I have a whole bunch of fighters actually that are outspoken about it. But a few that I really want to name right now that are really out there busting their ass, putting this product out, and not just the Turf House product, but just the information of CBD is the crazy cowboy Cortez Coleman from LFA. He's out of Oklahoma. He just fought a couple of weeks ago, but he sells my product inside of his gym, and I mean, he gives it. I have athletes that give it to their children. I don't think anybody would give an actual drug or anything that would give their children psychoactive effects. I don't think anybody would give their children that. So, I mean, if that, it kind of goes to the point.
And I know it. What you have here definitely does help. It helps in a lot of ways. Like even, my co-host Rachel, like she's been going through a lot of stuff. She hasn't really been able to be on the show. She's been dealing with mold sickness and stuff like that, and like just they were pumping her full of these medicines that just wasn't really doing nothing for it. And for like the longest time, I was beating her down. I'm like, I don't care if you smoke it, if you use some type of like CBD oil or whatever. You have to find a way to get off that stuff. It's just gonna make you worse. And then she finally tried it, and she was like, I was a little goofy for a little bit, but she was like, I'll have to tell you, she's like, I wasn't in any pain that entire night.
Well, what's so crazy about marijuana also is it helps with addiction. Another reason that I want to focus on MMA athletes is I had numerous injuries throughout my career, and I was addicted to opiates, to painkillers. I mean, Mark Kerr is a case in point as well. If you watch the Smashing Machine, he gets really in depth about his addiction to painkillers and morphine. I mean, he was shooting up morphine, for God's sake. And when fighters get injuries and hurt, they don't have the insurance and they can't afford these medications. They either go to street narcotics and start buying pills off the street, and if they can't afford that, they're starting to shoot up heroin. Even in your area, I'm back from the Midwest, back in Indiana, and heroin epidemic is rampant over there. And Brian Rogers, that's the one reason he got involved. Brian the Predator Rogers from Bellator, he got involved. He was my very first sponsored athlete. He's become a very dear friend of mine and detrimental to the growth of Turf House. And the reason he jumped on board was the fact that he has so many people that are back home in the state of Ohio that are addicted to heroin. He understands that, that people need to get off of that. And the only way, 9 times out of 10, the people that get on heroin are the people that were on pills in the beginning because they had some sort of an injury. It's not these people that are going out just smashing up pills for no reason. They've had an injury, and they've had to take those pills for whatever reason. So I don't blame the pills for addiction. I blame Big Pharma for pushing these pills out.
Yo, you just made my biggest argument valid for that. That's my biggest argument, is that a lot of people today that are shooting up heroin are people that were very successful. A lot of them got injured. A lot of them were taking painkillers that you're given to by doctors that you're supposed to trust, and you're supposed to say, okay, well, this is going to help me. And no, it doesn't, because they give you enough to get you hooked, but then they stop giving it to you. So then you're on the streets, and then you're shooting up heroin, and then you're dead or jail or rehab or whatever the case may be. And I am living proof that CBD is marijuana, whatever you want to call it, cannabis. It's an absolute natural painkiller. It saved me from, I can't even tell you the last couple injuries I've had that it really saved me. I could have ended up back in rehab again, and no, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're an ex-addict, I don't care if you're an alcoholic or if you've shot heroin or whatever you've done, a Tylenol can send you back into relapse. I don't believe, now you might get upset with me on this, but this is another addict, this is an addict talking to, it sounds like another addict. I don't believe addiction is a disease, and it's a choice. But you can become addicted and have that addiction sprung, just like Ryan White got AIDS from going to get a blood transfusion from the hospital These doctors are trying to treat people, and they're creating addicts without even knowing.
Oh, yeah. But then that kind of addict doesn't become a choice because it's almost like you're a victim of circumstance. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's a really sad situation what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a little philosophical here because I don't believe in victims of circumstance either. I believe, like, if you're in a situation and you're uncomfortable in that situation and you don't want to be in that situation, then you can move out of that situation. Just like with me, like I was tired of taking painkillers because I was hurt and I was tired of feeling like shit, and I didn't want to just, like a lot of people that get injuries such as mine, especially with the brain, they start developing these mental deficiencies, and they start feeling sorry for themselves, and they start getting depressed. Like I was diagnosed with clinical depression at 13 years old. I'm 34 years old. I've battled depression my whole life, and I own businesses, and I've been homeless, and I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's not because I was in a shitty situation or I had a shitty upbringing or my, this or that. It's because I chose to do those things. I chose to grab up pills and snort them. I chose to overdose while I was at work and almost kill my coworkers with a forklift. I chose to overdose on painkillers and be in a coma for two weeks. I chose those things, but I got addicted to them through big pharma, and that's what I'm saying is like, people have choices, yes, but we can also not set them up for failure. And that's what we're doing with these painkillers and big pharma. We're setting up our children for failure because they know that if they get hurt, they can go to the doctor and get a pill to fix it. And if that pill makes them sick, there's another pill to fix that. And that's not what it is with cannabis. Cannabis is a cure-all. It sounds like a sales pitch, but cannabis is a cure-all. If it wasn't for the smoke and the smell and the stigma on it, I would let my children smoke cannabis.
If it wasn't for basically, that's more like for the fear of what government would do, because that's
yeah,
more the problem. That's more the problem.
Exactly.
There. I definitely feel you with, when somebody has a head injury, they just basically give them some type of barbiturates instead of, and then they wind up getting, like you guys said, it's not 9 times 10 out of 100. It's somebody who is addicted to something like that and wound up an injury, regardless if it's sports related or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What put them in that situation. And you're absolutely right. Big Pharma, their job is they see you as a consumer who keeps consuming everything they have, and they're going to keep you that way as long as they can. That's why what you're trying to do is being so hard pressed, because you jeopardize their multi-billion-dollar freaking scam that they have going on.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I mean, let's be honest. Pretty much anybody can farm CBD. You can grow hemp because let's kind of separate this and get the stigma out too, because people call CBD oil cannabis oil, and it's not. There's two different things. Cannabis oil contains THC. That's your RSO oil, your Rick Simpson oil. That has a ton of medical benefits. It's great for killing cancer and things. Same thing as CBD, but CBD oil is totally different. Your cannabis oil RSO is made from your marijuana, your cannabis with the THC. Hemp is where your CBDs come from. So my CBD comes from a farm out of Colorado. It's farmed organically. It's processed. It's tested to make sure that it's pure, things of that nature. But what the problem is people are taking this and putting it into vape cartridges or mixing it with other things that are very harmful. And you've got to be very, very conscientious of what you're looking at and what you're doing. Nick Diaz was smoking CBD pens. That's cool. That's great. But you have to make sure that it's not mixed with propylene glycol. You want to make sure that it's mixed with maybe MCT oil or just pure terpenes. MCT oil is coconut oil. It's not been. It's good for food grade. You can digest it. That's what's inside of my oils. But for vaping, it's not been tested, so we don't know if there's any harmful additives to it or not. So there's a lot of athletes that are smoking this, and then they're getting these harmful these harmful chemicals in their body, and it's making them sick. And then they're thinking that it's the THC or the CBD that's making them sick, and it's giving them a bad taste in their mouth. There's not enough education on the additives that these companies are putting in.
Now, the other thing is, like you were just saying, like, you get your stuff from a farm now. when going on this venture, are you farming it too, or you just go to a farmer and get what supplies you need?
No, because anybody like that. I to answer your question in short, I have it industrially with farms because I want professional people farming this stuff. Because I don't know how to farm. I'm not a horticulturist. I've never grown anything in my life. So just because I'm good at business or I'm educated on the benefits of CBD doesn't make me a good grower. So I want to make sure that everything that I have is the most premium quality ever. So I source everything from the most premium. Like I get my terpenes. My terpenes are organically sourced and farmed, and so is my CBD. Now I combined everything together myself. I get all the raw ingredients sourced, and then I combined everything together so I know the mixture and everything that way. So my products are made by me, but they're farmed. The materials are farmed. You see what I'm saying? I don't grow anything myself because I'm not educated enough to have a product that will be as pure as what I get. Where it comes from is a farm out of Colorado. It's a 70-acre farm. It produces, I don't know, probably 90% of the CBD that's consumed inside of Colorado. I know that much. Colorado is the best state for any kind of cannabis products because their technology is up to par and they make it a business. Anything coming out of California right now, as far as farms and things, it's just people that had a shit ton of money that opened up a grow. California is so far behind the times as far as technology and medical advances. Colorado is light years ahead of them. So when you mentioned Donald Cerrone as being a spokesperson, I'm very surprised that Colorado hasn't had a fighters union of fighters getting together and farming this shit themselves. It's mind-boggling how much information has not been put out. You've got Daniel Bregoli that talks ghetto as shit, and I'm sorry if I'm cussing and not able to. This is just how I talk.
Don't worry about it, brother. We don't want you censored. We don't want you censored. We want to get it all raw, brother.
You got Daniel Bregoli that's out. You know, she's a millionaire now because she acted stupid on TV. But we have this life-changing plant, and nobody knows anything about it. It's just dumbfounding to me how information can travel, how bad information gets out there, and good information gets swept to the forefront. And like I used to think that there was no information worse than misinformation. But I don't know if that's the case any further because at least with misinformation, the word's getting out there and research can be done. When the information's not getting out there, people are dumbfounded. Like, people don't even know what the hell CBD is when I talk to them half the time.
You're right. But, like, here for argument's sake, say, you know, I'm Johnny or Jane Fighter, you know, I'm interested, but I'm still concerned about it. How would you go about explaining how they could use it, what they should use, and when they should use it?
Well, the biggest concern that I get from them is, well, I can't use that because I get tested. They automatically assume that it's going to have THC in it. Now, I would suggest taking THC with CBD. I would definitely suggest that because I believe you need what they call the full spectrum. You need the terpene, CBD, and the THC. But the way that I explain it is that my product is an isolate. It's grown from hemp. It has 3% THC naturally inside of the hemp leaf. It's taken out as an isolate. It's completely stripped of anything but CBD. It's 99.9% CBD when it's taken out. It's mixed in with coconut oil, which is an MCT, and it's a cooking base, so it's food grade. It's consumable, and it's got natural terpenes in it. So the way that it's going to work is you take it underneath your tongue. You're going to take a dropper per day. If you're just an average athlete. If you're going to be doing sparring, then I would say take 2 droppers. You're going to take 1 dropper either at night or in the morning, and then you're going to take another dropper before any kind of full contact sparring or rolling, anything like that. The terpenes will enter your system, and they open up the receptors in your brain, and that will allow you to receive the CBD more efficiently. The research and the studies that I have done is when you are taking pure THC in a concentrate, that you're getting about 30% of that. Your high comes from, a lot of times your high will come, it's a head high from all the chemicals and stuff inside of the oils. But you usually get about 30% of that.